I got a meeting in the girls' room. Do you wanna come with, boo? I got a meeting in the girls' room. Do you wanna come with, boo? Ooh, do you wanna come with?
Girl, I got some more to say. Even though I tangent my ass off, I thought it was best to leave some things for later when I was scripting season 1. So, hi everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of Do You Want to Come With? I'm your host, David McKeever, now in Technicolor. This is the first official video episode of Do You Want to Come With? We're now on YouTube, and by we, I mean the royal we. Hi. You can see me in all my fabulous red glory today. I'm wearing a gorgeous, my favorite red top, a gorgeous red top, tank top underneath the red shirt. And then I'm wearing a very pretty, very beautiful skirt that's red and pink and a little bit of purple, I would say. So, anyways, all the episodes of season 1 are out now. It's very exciting. You can go and take a listen. I would recommend listening in order. And I got some bonus content coming soon. You know, I have my original interview with Emma, and my original interview with Lila, and my original interview with Zoe. So, some fun little things coming out. 2 of those will be video episodes as well. Very excited about that. And season 2 Potty Talk is still on its way. I'll be sitting down with people, having conversations, bringing them on the pod, and we're gonna, talk about the potty, talk about the bathroom. That's potty talk. So, just a little, logistics thing. I might be... there might be some time in between episodes from here on out, at least between season 1 and season 2. There might be a few weeks off, just to let you know. But I got more stuff coming, and you're going to be thoroughly pleased through your ears by my content. So, yes, thank you very much. The color of the week this week, in case you haven't guessed it, is red. Look at me. Look at me in my red. Red like fire, but fire is actually really orange. So I guess red, yellow, and orange. There's multiple colors there, but like a red and like a scarlet, like the scarlet leather, red like the scarlet leather. My message today is be confident, bitch. Like, come on, that's it. And my gossip today is okay. So this guy that I used to, he messaged me on Snapchat that he missed me. First off, I've deleted Snapchat a few months ago. It's a fucking hellscape for me, especially when it has to do with, like, men and then men giving me attention. Like, I eat that shit up, and then I, like, wait by the phone to get a Snapchat back. And then you can do the thing where you're left on open, and they tell you. See, I don't fuck with people who do read receipts. I don't fuck with that shit. So... Snapchat is like, I was allowing that to go on for way too long, and I realized I couldn't anymore. So I deleted Snapchat. I only got the Snapchat notification because I got a fucking email about his message. So he messaged me. He said he missed me, and it was like, miss you, and then the next message was not gonna lie. They were consecutive. It wasn't like time between them. And then I actually folded and texted him, and I was like, miss you too, because I'd been thinking about him recently, not in like a missing him way, just in a kind of like, oh, this person was like in my life kind of, and like there was moments I felt, connection to him. But there's never a romantic thing with him. He was always just very up and down all over the place. And I messaged him, we were messaging for a day. It was kind of like the flirty back into it, like how we used to talk. And I realized, like, after the fact, the next day, like, I didn't like that. I can't, like, I especially knew him at a time that was really tumultuous for me. And I can't go back to that. And I also can't just do this, like, almost just, like, satiating, like, flirtiness, it's just like, oh, you're just trying to fill a void or fill some sort of need. It's not actually about the person, or like, if it is about the person, it's not actually about how much you care about them or love them. So what I've been realizing is, like, I need something a little bit more intimate. I need something that's actually, like, if I'm going to flirt with somebody, it needs to be intentional, and it needs to be like like there needs to be a lot of love there, and there needs to be direct like love there, and I need to also like have interest in this person and have a full desire to be with this person, and I just don't have that right now for him. My heart kind of is elsewhere. So yeah, I just think like I want a more profound and intimate love, and I realize that's okay, and maybe I shouldn't have messaged him, but I also like needed to kind of explore that for myself, I think. Or maybe I was just being messy, a messy slut, as they say. So I don't know. That's whatever. I don't care. It's kind of. Maybe I told him about this podcast, so if he's listening to this at one point, hey, sorry. Sorry you had to find out this way. Shit. Okay. All right. Anyways, come on, episode 6. Let's get sickening. And then I do like a split, like Laganja Estranja in season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Okay? All right. Anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do in this episode is like, if you've ever read like an academic paper, you know, like they'll have footnotes or sometimes they're endnotes. They're at the end. I did endnotes for this podcast. Like I did endnotes while I was scripting it. So I'm just gonna go through episode by episode. I have, you know, usually a few notes for each. Sometimes none, but I still want to say something a little bit about each episode. So, anyways, here it is. Episode 1 is I have one note about the people I was interviewing, more specifically, like the fact that I talked to one genderqueer person for this project. I know, it's kind of crazy. I only talked to one genderqueer person. I didn't talk to any trans people, or at least interview them, you know? The semester that I was scripting this and planning out the original season was just like hell. Like the capstone was hell. So much work. I had so much else going on. I was working. I was in the midst of a situationship. It was just like so much. And I just was like, I was like, okay, let me start with my experience and try and find other people who have experiences like I do, you know? Like, and what I did with that then is I prioritized finding cis women, because again, I've been friends with cis women my whole life. And I talked to queer men, because that's how I felt like I identified for many years. And then I talked to another genderqueer person, you know, just to kind of like get this basis going. And I understand that it's not really like the whole picture or whatever. I understand that it's not really like I would have loved to talk to trans people. I would have loved to talk to disabled people. It just wasn't in the scope of my original thing. I couldn't get it all done in time. Like I was freaking out, and I was like, I don't have enough time to do everything. So I stuck with like a smaller group. I wanted to do 15 interviews at first. I only ended up doing 8. So keep that in mind as well. There's just so much to cover too. What I realized is like, even with the 8 people that I talked to, like there's still so much that I needed to talk about that I just kind of like kept it to this limited thing. And that's what, you know, the future is for. That's what Potty Talk is for, you know? Like I'm going to get to talk to more people, going to get to open it up, going to get to have more expansive conversations with a variety of different people. Maybe kind of at first still starting from this initial place of like people I know, people I'm close to, do they have similar experiences to me? But then branching out from there. So that's that note. I also did use mostly like only actually people who are like have lived in the United States and do live in the United States, like, and have for a while, which says nothing about like other countries and other cultures and how things might go there. So I get it. But also like I don't think it limited my project at all. I think it made it more clear who was I'm like talking about. So anyways, that's my note for episode 1. Moving on to episode 2. I actually incorporated a lot of my original notes into the episode because I'm just really smart and fabulous like that. But I did want to talk a little bit more broadly about like media depictions of the bathroom. First off, I want to issue a correction from episode 2 in that I said the line like in Mean Girls when Damien's in the bathroom with Lindsay Lohan and Janice Ian, he doesn't say like what are you going to do about it to the girl who says like, you can't be in here, this is a girl's bathroom. He says, oh my God, Danny DeVito, I love your work, and like runs after her. I think it's so good. It's so funny. It's so perfect. It's mean, of course, but girls, it's Mean Girls. What are you gonna say, you know? And Mean Girls, he has to be mean to be one of the girls in the bathroom and assert his dominance. And also, gay men can be catty little fucks sometimes. So like, yeah, all checks out. Two other TV shows that are actually the reality TV shows that I can think of that also have this kind of bathroom dynamic. Maybe not always explicitly girls' bathroom, but like you usually notice it's the girls. So in Jersey Shore, love Jersey Shore. First off, have to say that the original that launched reality TV to a place that's never been before. But this is not a reality TV show podcast. So I basically they go when they're like in the club and stuff, they're like, let's go dance in the bathroom. They're talking about doing coke. They're going to go do coke in the bathroom. Like they're always like, let's dance in the bathroom. And it's like on the show and it's filmed and it's really interesting because it's like I don't know, like I the reality TV aspect of that is really interesting. It's also just like everybody knows what they're talking about. I mean, once you're in the know, you're in the know, you know. And the producers, I can't imagine they wouldn't know, you know, that they were doing that. It's also like explains really how they were able to like maintain the fucking lifestyle they did, and also why they were so fucked up. It's not, you know, when you drink a lot, like you get tired, so you need some cocaine to boost things up if you're going to be like living at the Jersey Shore all summer, getting drunk, working at a shirt shop, not a sandwich shop. I almost said that. Working at the shirt shop, and it's just like, I don't know. Like I think it's really interesting too that it's like they're using this code on camera to go do drugs in the bathroom, which are illegal. Cocaine being like an illegal drug, you know. I don't know. I think it's very interesting and also very funny that that's like kept into the show too. It's like you can't hide in the bathroom, you know? The other show that they did that in is Vanderpump Rules. They'll be like out or something and they'll be like, let's do tequila shots in the bathroom or something. Like I've noticed that a few times of just like them saying tequila shots is code word for cocaine or drugs or something, you know? So there's kind of these coded things going on too. It's like, if you know, you have to be this is really interesting to me because I think it plays more into this dynamic of like the private and public life in the bathroom and how they kind of collide. And like, especially when you're outside of the bathroom, especially if you're on like reality TV, you know, like you're being watched and you're being watched intensely. You don't know who might be around. If you're in a club, take out the reality TV context. If you're in a club and you're like, want to do some coke in the bathroom with your friends or something, maybe not coke, ketamine, you could just be like, you can maybe have a code word or a signal to be like, hey, let's go to the bathroom. Because you never know who's around you. You never know if like club security is standing right next to you or something. You never know if there's a narc around, you know? So you have to be more covert. I think this still does play into like this thing I'm thinking of in the bathroom of like secrecy and disclosure, you know? What's a secret? What's disclosed? Like everybody in the bathroom isn't always clued into what other people are doing, you know? Like, apologies if you hear some cats meowing. It's Frank and Matilda. They're right outside the door, and I can't do anything about them. So, anyways, sorry. They just like I just feel like there's this aspect of like there's so much going on inside the bathroom, and all of these people having completely different experiences. And yeah, I don't know. Moving on to a scripted TV show, Sex Education on Netflix. I was thinking about it. And I don't know if this is necessarily a girl's bathroom, but there is this like, that show is about like this kid who like does like, I mean, it's about like a school, but it's about like this kid who like does sex therapy for other students, kind of like in a covert way, kind of to like combat this kind of negligence of sex education in their own school. His mom was a sex therapist, so like he's smart and he's good at it, you know? Like it's a TV show too, so of course he's good at it. Like it's fantasy. It's not real. It's pretend. You're an adult. You should know that. But they were in this like rundown bathroom and like he would give sex advice through the stalls, like, and it was nice. I think the bathroom eventually got torn down. I just started watching the new season too, and like they've moved to a new school and stuff. So I think it's just like completely like the bathroom aspect's done. The new season's very interesting, and I could talk a lot about, but this is not a TV podcast. So, yeah. Anyways, those kinds of depictions I see a lot. Yeah, and then I just think what I've noticed too, about these variety of bathroom experiences, especially in scripted TV shows, it's usually like teen shows. Oh my God, another teen show I can think of, can't believe I forgot to mention this. Fucking Glee. Glee! There's probably multiple instances. I can think of actually one that I wasn't going to mention, but it just popped in my head about in like a later season, there's the character Marley and Kitty, like, I think there's a sense of like, Marley develops an eating disorder because Glee goes there. And I think Kitty's like encouraging it or doing shit to fuck with her. And there's like scenes of them in the bathroom and maybe Kitty fucking with her head a little bit or like Marley going to purge or something. It's really intense. But God, that show is so intense. What was not intense though about that show is I can think of this one specific song. They did Telephone by Lady Gaga and Beyonce. And Rachel Berry, played by the illiterate Leah Michele, went into the bathroom to like harass one of the new kids at the school who was like an amazing singer. Her name was Sunshine Corazon. I don't know the actress's name. I'm so sorry. She like went in. She's like trying to intimidate her, and then they like sing "Telephone" by Lady Gaga. You know, will be a little treat that I'll share at some point. Emma and I actually did a recreation of this scene a few years back during like living in our first apartment during like COVID, very intense COVID times, and like because COVID's still happening. We haven't gone out. COVID cases are rising. Get your tests from the government and wear a mask. We recreated that video, so I'll put that somewhere at one point. But it ends with Sue Sylvester, played by Jane Lynch, like coming into the bathroom and being like, "Shut up!" Like looking like so offended, like so mad, like why the fuck you're belting out this song in the bathroom as if there's not other people around, as if people can't hear you outside the bathroom. So it's like it takes this really funny aspect of these like musical shows or musicals in general and just like, you know, there's this like sense of fantasy because sometimes people are singing in these shows and it's like they're obviously not singing in real life. It's like a vehicle to express their emotions or something, and like you're seeing this depiction of them. It's like this takes you, because in Glee they are singing in real life sometimes, so it's like takes you out of that moment of just like them singing in the bathroom and the shut up, like it's just like shut up, what are you doing, you're singing in the bathroom. First off, Sue Sylvester hates the Glee Club, so it's like you're already pissing her off. Two, this is not the bathrooms for, it's not for you to have lip sync showdowns. I guess it's not lip sync, it's not for you to have singing showdowns in the bathroom, you know. So anyways, those are some of the things I can think of. I know that there's thousands and thousands of more examples of the bathroom in the media, but these are kind of like girl-centric ones or like sex or taboo-centric ones that I think are really interesting to note, you know? So anyways, moving on. Episode 3. I really, I did incorporate some of these notes into my initial, like, original project. But one thing I wanted to note, or a few things I wanted to note, the first thing being like gay men and women and their friendships, you know? And I mentioned I wanted to like explore those a little bit more, and I still do, but I just want to note more, like, this is a very interesting thing about like how gender comes up, because I think about the ways in which gay men and women can kind of like how power dynamics there can marginalize each other, and how they can kind of be like, you know, women can be homophobic towards their gay men, or do like the GBF, like I want a gay best friend, like kind of thing, you know, or gay men can be misogynistic and like weird to women and like all that shit. But I think there's a reason why gay men and women are like friends, you know, like also especially like gay men and like queer women, like they're like this, you know. So sorry. If you wanted to see what I just did, watch the video episode. But like I think it's just like it's really interesting about how they do that. They do these playing into norms and stuff, but they also stray away from them too. You know, I mentioned why I mentioned this and why this is in my notes is because I talked about Tim in my when I interviewed him, you know, and I talked about how he like went into the bathroom to like take care of his friend in there, you know, and I think that's really interesting. Like he went into the girl's bathroom, he didn't care about like that much about how people, or he did care about how people were going to perceive him, but he didn't like, that didn't prevent him from going to take care of his sick friend, you know? And I think about my own experiences as a gay man, quote unquote, and how like again, this idea of like socialization to be a certain gender and socialization being stronger than anything. Like, I saw this TikTok recently of just kind of like, they have those skits and stuff where it's like they're playing out some sort of like argument with like somebody as like trying to prove a way of like this like talking point and this fallacy wrong. The talking point was like, oh, I don't want trans women in locker rooms with me because they were socialized to be men, and so they might be viewing me in like a sexual light. Which is weird to think. And throughout the skit, that person, whoever was the creator, kind of just like debunked that myth, I just think it's really interesting though about like this aspect of like socialization, like that is ingrained to you and nothing can undo that. Like people don't understand that being trans or being genderqueer or even coming to understand yourself as queer can undo this kind of socialization, especially if you're like looking deeply about gender in your life. Like it can like kind of rewrite yourself, especially if you're putting in the work to do that. And I think about my own experiences and I'm like, yeah, I've definitely like worked through a lot of this male or man socialization that I've had, and like I don't really feel like I live and operate in the world in a manly way. And I also think too that like for most of my life, even before I did that unlearning, like I was genderqueer. Like I was socialized as genderqueer too. Like because what I think this aspect of socialization ignores is like people's own perceptions of themselves or the ways people find community in other people, ways people learn about other things and start to unlearn things about themselves that aren't true, far beyond like a socialization aspect. And also like even as you're being socialized to be a certain gender, you still have all these things, like especially if you're queer or genderqueer or trans or whatever, like you have all these things that kind of like determine how your gender is going to go, So I think it's really interesting, like just to kind of like resist this notion of socialization being like the essential thing. That's essentialist. It's a different kind of essentialism. It's not bioessentialism, it's not boiling people down to their biology, but it's this like social like essentialism. It's like you were socialized this way and it almost becomes your biology, almost becomes something that's seen as innate and inherent to you. I don't know. I think it's really interesting that like in even more progressive people can kind of get stuck in this trap of like you're like a certain type of way or you were a certain type of way and you're always going to be that type of way, like I don't know. I think maybe it's a little cliche to say like people can change, but like it's, or like to say even like people do change, like that is just true. Like people change and grow. And if you're going to be bringing your biases and your perceptions about other people to every single interaction that you have, you need to do some serious fucking work and look at yourself, because what is that doing besides constraining and limiting the people around you? What is that doing besides, perpetuating these myths and ideas that end up causing violence to people, So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I think gay men and women kind of show how this socialization can be superseded. And like, I think about my own experiences too, about like how my socialization being with like close women friends my whole life, like there also wasn't this sense of like there is this disconnect, especially with cis women, I do feel, of like, you don't fully understand me. It's not because I'm a man, it's because I'm genderqueer, And I felt with genderqueer people in my life, I haven't felt that disconnect. So it's just like, I don't know, like where are these differences actually arising? And are they arising from like living in the world in a certain way or being like trained to be a certain way? And I don't think it's always this training. I think people, especially people who are conscious of themselves beyond queer and genderqueer people, if you are conscious of identity and power in this world and how it works, you are doing an important part in unlearning socialization. Even if you are a cis man, for example, if you are putting in that work and you're understanding yourself, even if you're a cis het straight man, like you're still not just boiling down to your socialization, like this idea keeps everybody limited. It keeps also men from being able to transgress this like patriarchal norm that they live in and this violence that they have maybe been taught, So give people more credit than they like are given, My next note is about like the men's locker room and the men's bathroom and that social experience not being the same as the girls' bathroom. But like one thing I wanted to know is somebody brought this up to me about like their experiences in the men's bathroom. Like they don't think of that place as a social place. They kind of go about their business, leave. They've noticed that older men do talk to each other more in the bathroom, you know? And I think that's very interesting about like, what is it about an older generation of men that they might just be like more open to being social in the bathroom, and how this isn't a sign of like, I would like to say that like a lot of men nowadays don't talk to each other in the bathroom because it's like, why are you talking to somebody at a urinal? It's like, you're gay, you know? Like, you're talking to me while I'm pissing, leave me alone. Like, there's that aspect of it. And what is it about older men that's kind of like letting go of that? And I think about the men's locker room too. How this is much more like, for again, this like aspect of like, if people were gay based off their actions, solely based off their actions, so many more men would be gay because of how they acted in the locker room, you know? I haven't done research on it. I have not spent many times in men's locker rooms, especially like in a school environment, but I'm going to one day, and I want to like have people who know this and like know this experience and will talk about it. So there's that. Another note is like, I think about cruising in the bathroom for men, you know? I know this is a big thing and I'm curious about it. You know, I've never partooken, but I know about it and I've heard about it and I've seen it in some ways. But I know that it's like usually groups of men. Like, it's not always just like one-on-one. It is sometimes. I think that happens. I know that there can be like groups of men, like 5 or 6 men, like, you know, sucking and fucking in the bathroom at one time, like together in a group. And I'm just like, is this spontaneous? Like, I'm curious about like the logistics of it. Like, do they plan this out beforehand? Is it spontaneous? Is it just like a man goes into the bathroom and he's like sees people sucking dick and it's like, I'm going to get my dick sucked, you know, like kind of like out of nowhere? Like, is it like, do they use like an app like Sniffies, which is like, I don't know if you've never heard of Sniffies. It's this like location based, like literally you get a map and all around the map are cocks, you know? You choose a cock and you message them and you're like, do you want to fuck? And you go and fuck them, basically. I've never used it. I haven't. But it's just very, like, it is like, it's a good way about, like, if you want to get anonymous sex in, you know? Quick, low pump and dump. Like, that's a good way to do it. And I was just like, the thing is about cruising that astonishes me the most. I was like, how can there be that many gays there? You know? And then there's this whole, like, straight men who get their dick sucked kind of thing, where it's like they're straight, but they just like have sex and put their dick in things, I guess. I'm not here to judge. I just don't, to me, when I hear about men fucking other men, I don't usually call them straight. I would say they're DL, you know, like they're bisexual or they're gay or something, and they're just like on the down low. But like, I also think that's a part of cruising too. It's just like DL guys going in, and I don't know, like it. And based off of what I've heard about cruising, it seems like there's a lot more faggot ass men out there than we've been led to believe. So yeah, I don't know. What are we going to do about that? Anyways, moving on to my final few notes of this episode. One of the things that I've thought about a lot throughout this project is the bathroom as a closet, you know? The closet as a metaphor for gay and lesbian oppression too, you know? Like the closet being this thing that is like having like public spaces more generally for queer people having to be like you have to be covert, you can't be overt, you can't like hold hands with your partner in public. Obviously this is changing and has changed, but like the closet allows people to keep their non-heterosexuality or non-cisness muted. The bathroom's closeting because I think of this gendered notion, you know, you walk into the bathroom and immediately you're a man or woman, especially if it's a gendered bathroom, I should clarify. It's like men, women. You disclose a sense of identity, or even like if you're like me, you're a genderqueer person that like presents the way I do, you have to go into a men's bathroom. It kind of signals this like maleness to people, you know? And I think that's just like really like this disclosure is very powerful, and it very much like I can't closet. It's almost like I can't reverse closet. Like I can't be authentic I guess that would be disclose. I can't disclose who I am just by doing something, you know? If I enter a men's bathroom, that discloses something about me that's like, oh, I'm male or I'm man. And like that, there's usefulness in that, especially if you're living in like a violent space or a violent, like kind of like society that isn't very accepting, or, you know, maybe you live in like the South or something, like in a state where it's not very welcoming for gay people or queer people or trans people, whatever. I don't know. So there is usefulness in being able to mute yourself, is what I'm trying to say. I also think it's very interesting too. Like, it's very hard to not mute yourself when you go into these spaces, even if you want to be open and proud or whatever, because you just got to use the bathroom and you don't want to go through all this hassle, you know? So you sacrifice that, like other people and how they might treat you, like they think of you or might view you as like a certain gender, to just be able to go to the bathroom. So this closet, again, the closet is, I came to realize this throughout my life, and like it was a very hard realization for me at first. When I was younger, I was only closeted for like, I would say 3-4 years, 5 years, when I was like a teen and stuff, very young. I knew I was gay. I came out to my friends in like 5th grade. Then I came out to my mom and dad and family, I guess, like a few years later in 8th grade. The closet is psychological warfare, and it leaves scars on you, and it leaves impressions on you that are very damaging and very hard to work through and unlearn. And we don't talk about that enough, and we don't think about the closet as violent enough, you know, like to be always paranoid that somebody's going to find you out, to be always on watch, to feel like you're wrong because a lot of queer people or trans people think that they're wrong for being the way they are. To like always be thinking about something that, you know, for a lot of queer people throughout their life, like I would say like my queerness and my gender queerness is kind of innate to me, like, or whatever, you know, it's like, it's not really, it's a big deal, but it's not like, I'm not thinking about it all the time. I'm not worrying about it all the time. But I will say too that like being genderqueer and non-binary and coming to understand myself as that, like I do have these scars from that too. And it's a little bit more profound too, like when you have to go back into the closet, or when you have to continuously come out to everybody in your life, or like with like the pronouns I use, I have to kind of be like if I want to correct somebody, you know, like having to do that all the time is exhausting. Having to continuously come out is exhausting. Puts you back in that closet, brings up this trauma. And a lot of people don't have the resources or tools to work through that trauma for many, many years. So in thinking of the bathroom as a closet, I think it's really interesting to note that like this isn't just like any mundane thing. Like it is violent. It becomes a violent space for people, whether it's psychologically, physically, emotionally, whatever. There is violence going on because the closet is psychological warfare, period. Also, something else I think about disclosures, I'm like, sometimes I think about gender neutral or all gender bathrooms and using them, and like, is that also like an act of disclosure? Can that be seen as disclosing your identity, being like I think, or maybe there's this myth that you are, you know, like by going into an all gender bathroom, then you're not cisgender or something, you know, like, which isn't true, first off, but also like there might be truth to that. I remember in high school there was an all gender bathroom, and there's like one openly genderqueer person in my school, maybe not one, but like there was a notable one. God, they were, and I remember going into the bathroom one time, like the all gender bathroom, and I would go in there and I'd vape. Like honestly, I was just going in there to vape and shit. And like also I think too, like wasn't consciously genderqueer in high school, but like there was a sense of like I hated going into that men's bathroom, especially in high school. I think about it now, I actually avoided men's bathrooms as much as possible. And I think about it now, I went to a Quaker school. Would have meeting for worship. It's 40 minutes sitting in silence. Some days I just really couldn't do that. I had too much going on, or I just wanted to fuck around, you know. Me and one of my friends would go into like the girls' bathroom in the basement where like meeting for worship was happening, and we'd like sit on looking back, why the fuck was I doing this? Disgusting, dirty as fuck. Sit on the floor of like each stall, and then just like do. This is so gross. I can't believe I'm saying this. We would like take toilet paper, we'd like dip it into the toilet, but I don't think we'd always touch it, and then we'd like smack it against like the wall, and we'd like make like collages of this wet toilet paper against the stall in the girls' bathroom. That was a very fun experience. Otherwise, I would just like later on, I would just start to like go into a bathroom, choose that bathroom, be in there for 40 minutes, you know? Never with other people. I would always be away from the men. Like, I would always be scared. Like, every time I was in a men's bathroom in high school, somebody I recognize or know would come in. We necessarily wouldn't talk, or like maybe we would. And that whole social experience was actually very, very, very scary to me. You know, having to talk to a boy that I knew in the bathroom, fucking scary for me. I was always scared. Anyways, I got on a tangent, whatever. I come out of that like all gender bathroom and like see this genderqueer person like standing there like tapping their foot like cross, like cross, you know, like rah, 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 rah. Why are you using this bathroom, you know? I remember like in a sense it's like you then like this person was then like the arbiter of what my identity was, you know, because like yeah, you know, I get it now, especially I get it too. If you're a genderqueer person and you're using the bathroom, like if you need to use the bathroom and the only all gender bathroom is taken up, that's frustrating, you know? At the same time, you can't be going around assuming what other people are identifying as, you know? Like, and yeah, also you can't be getting mad at people for using an all gender bathroom. It's for all genders. Like, don't get mad at the person, get mad at the fact that like the bathroom system is fucked up, you know? Anyways, but we do have a responsibility to each other too. That's sure. That's like for sure true. But you can't do that with something that's like not visible, you know? Like maybe it's a little bit different if you're like a disabled person gets mad at you for using like a wheelchair accessible stall. Like it's not the same kind of dynamic there. It's like you knew that like you didn't have to use that stall. The identity is more visible, you know, whatever. Anyways, getting away from the point. But yeah, again, the bathroom is a closet, and there's so much about identity going on, regardless of whether it's like a girl's bathroom or not. It's all these bathrooms have disclosures and secrecy and closeting going on. So my last note for episode 3 is I asked the question. I was talking about more so. I was talking about like Zoe saying that they would, if they saw like someone who they thought to be a man, or other people perceived as a man, if they saw that person enter the bathroom, especially if they're like a queer, genderqueer person or trans person, like they had an instinct to protect them, the impulse to protect that person. And I asked, why did Zoe have that impulse and I didn't get the same impulse from cis women? All I want to say is that's a rhetorical question. You know, I know why. I know it's because genderqueer and trans people know these experiences more intimately. And cis people just will not think about that. They will just only think about their own perceptions of gender and how gender plays out. They will only see this person and see a man. They won't think about the fact that like this person might need empathy or compassion or companionship or allyship too, you know? And this isn't when I'm talking, like the instance I'm talking about is not necessarily like you see a man walk into the bathroom, just like regular old like straight guy, you know, like it is about like a genderqueer person or somebody who looks like me walking into the girls' bathroom. So it was a rhetorical question. I know why. Let's take a bathroom break. Moving on to episode 4. I think about the bathroom, or I tried to at first, about as like a marginal space, you know, like I don't think it fully worked. I was trying to work this idea into the original project. I don't think I really got there, but I wanted to explore it here. And so here are some of my original thoughts. So marginality. The bathroom is a marginal space in some ways. If you think about the physical construction of space and public spaces, bathrooms are usually placed on the outskirts, outside of the main body. I draw on this idea of marginality from bell hooks mostly from her 2015 text, Feminist Theory from Margins to Center. She tells the following story about her family growing up as a Black American working class family in a small Kentucky town. So she says, quote, To be in the margin is to be part of the whole but outside the main body. For Black Americans living in a small Kentucky town, the railroad tracks were a daily reminder of our marginality. Across those tracks were paved streets, stores we could not enter, restaurants we could not eat in, and people we could not look directly in the face. Across those tracks was a world we could work in as maids, as janitors, as prostitutes, as long as it was in a service capacity. We could enter that world, but we could not live there. We always had to return to that margin, to beyond the tracks, to shacks and abandoned houses on the edge of town. There were laws to ensure our return. To not return was to risk being punished. Living on the edge, as we did, we developed a particular way of seeing reality. We looked both from the outside in and the inside out. We focused our attention on the center as well as on the margin. We understood both. This mode of seeing reminded us of the existence of a whole universe, a main body made up of both margin and center. Our survival depended on an ongoing public awareness of the separation between margin and center and an ongoing private acknowledgement that we were a necessary, vital part of the whole. This sense of wholeness, impressed upon our consciousness by the structure of our daily lives, provided us an oppositional worldview, a mode of seeing unknown to most of our oppressors, that sustained us, aided us in our struggle to transcend poverty and despair, and strengthened our sense of self and solidarity. So I recognize, too, that, a lot of those things that I just said don't really resonate with the bathroom at all. I kind of read that whole thing just because I really love the quote. I think Hooks is a phenomenal writer, and I just really wanted to honor all that she was saying. But in imagining the bathroom as marginal, I do kind of see a few functions that make it this marginal space. So first off, you have to cross a physical boundary to enter the space. Second, once you're in, then you become reminded of your dirty self or your primal self, and you check in with yourself in the mirror. You kind of get a chance to look at yourself outside of the social body. That's kind of a marginal way. You are reminded of yourself and the way you operate in the space around you, This can be seen as an act of remembering the whole body, Finally, the physical location of the bathroom separates it from whatever space it's in and kind of is like an annex to the main body. So it is this other part, Beyond these functions, I don't think that the bathroom universally embodies marginality and does not necessarily impress this oppositional worldview onto those who enter the bathroom. However, the marginality of the bathroom does seem to interact with marginal identities in specific ways and can allow for a more oppositional worldview. So, women go to the bathroom to escape creepy men or talk about the men in their lives. In theory, this can allow women to work through their interactions with patriarchal violence or power structures and allows the potential to resist these structures too. However, since the bathroom itself doesn't necessarily embody marginality, women who align themselves with patriarchy will not internalize these reflections in the bathroom. And women are centered in the girls' bathroom, so it's not like the bathroom is a marginal space necessarily, and they're centered by the state. They're centered, it's legal, it's state-sanctioned margins, basically. But then genderqueer people might have a closer relationship to the marginality of the bathroom. Our worldview is more oppositional to gender than it might be for cis people, and I say might because there are cis people who have oppositional worldviews. But entering the bathroom reminds us of our own marginality under a binary gender system. We have to negotiate our identity in this space. We have to understand ourselves and the spaces that we're entering because our survival depends on it. Through this understanding, we also may learn how to resist it. For genderqueer people, the bathroom feels like an extension of the center, too, despite this marginality that I kind of see in here. We cross the threshold of the bathroom door, and we have to learn the rules of the space in order to survive. There are laws to ensure that we use the right bathroom, this makes us develop a particular way of seeing the world and living in the world. So all of these features of the bathroom reveal the marginality of the bathroom space, or the potential for the marginality, especially as a space for for gender nonconforming people, and also shows how our marginality is reinforced in everyday life. So in Grada Colombo's Who Can Speak? Speaking at the Center, Decolonizing Knowledge, she says that, quote, "The margins are both a site of repression and a site of resistance. Both sites are always present because where there is oppression, there is resistance. In other words, oppression forms the conditions for resistance. End quote. So from the margins, genderqueer people can resist gendering, but ultimately we are still repressed by the gender of the systems around us, The bathroom is a reminder of both that repression, but also our capacity to resist. Because from the bathroom and our experiences there, we learn about our bodies, our communities, our institutions, and our world. So that's where I see marginality, or at least saw marginality in the bathroom. I'm still not sold 100%. I'm still not it's perfect. But I do think there's this thing too, of just getting a better understanding of what marginality actually does. And reading Hooks's work kind of made me understand why being a marginalized person or having marginalized identity, why I see things in a certain way and why other people don't. It's not necessarily because I have some bias or whatever. It's because I've had experience. I've had experience that is speaking to truth. It's not speaking to some sort of delusion. It's speaking to truth. What Hooks was saying, there's legal things, there's social things that ensure these things are in these systems are in place. And then who's left to examine that? It's the people who have to enter both the center and the margins. And it's the people who have to fight to survive. So yeah, that's marginality. Anyways, I also want to talk a little bit about ephemera now. I want to return to ephemera like I did before. In thinking about ephemera, I think about this piece that I drew from originally. It was from the Women's Studies Journal. It was the introduction. It was ephemera as evident, introduction to queer acts or something like that. That's what it was called. And he talks about ephemera and queer acts. So what is a queer act? Who knows? No, I'm just kidding. I think queer acts kind of can be summarized as things that are queer that queer people do together or queer people have done that the second a non-queer viewpoint sees it or grabs it, it disappears, so something that can be seen as a queer act. And then the act of doing this thing kind of makes it disappear too. I don't know. It's very complicated. It's very confusing. I understood at one point and I can't come back. I don't know. Not right now. Maybe I'll do an episode on queer acts in the future. It's just an episode about people fucking, I don't know, people watching RuPaul's Drag Race. Although I would say that's not necessarily an exclusively queer act because straight people love RuPaul. But that piece that I mentioned, the Jose Munoz piece from where I draw the idea of ephemera from, begins by looking at a photo series by photographer Tony Just, which examined the public men's bathroom, which when I was doing this process originally and I was thinking back to this piece, I was oh, maybe that's one of the reasons why the bathroom's so interesting to me. Anyways, Munoz says, quote, Tony Just visited a rundown public men's room, a tea room where public sex flourishes. He scrubbed and sanitized the space, laboring to make it look pristinely, shimmeringly clean. The result is a photograph that indexes not only the haunted space and spectral bodies of those anonymous sex acts and Just performances after them, but also his act of documentation, end quote. So the photographer's sanitization of this space represents both the blending of the ephemeral and the archivable. In cleaning this dirty, grungy space in preparation for his photograph, he's removing the traces of what went on in there, while also intentionally documenting the spaces where they occurred. In many ways, the sanitization represents an exemplary queer act, as Munoz notes, in which queer experiences in a space are obscured in favor of cleanliness and order, or the norm. Here, ephemera exists in a queer imagination, an imagination of somebody who knows the history and reality of gay public sex in the bathroom. To the untrained eye and the unfelt heart, the ephemerality will elude them. The queerness of the space will be lost on them. And this is the power of ephemera. And I think about this too, what ephemera really does is it allows for us to archive queer and genderqueer feelings through listening to us and listening to our stories. It requires a different form of knowing. Okay, So, episode 5, my most recent episode. So I didn't have actually any endnotes for this episode, but I just want to reflect on the reflections and the process of making this whole thing. So, one, I think about the form of season 1, the form of why, I did these 5 episodes. I think I did this because, in my original scripting, I did these 5 episodes. I chose these 5 episodes to do, and I kind of realized that, in going back and editing things, yeah, I could have broken up information more, or maybe I could have, done different things. I wanted to honor the work that I did, basically. Because there was a lot of work, and I thought there was a lot of really good work. But, I may not even thought, I was told that. I know that I put a lot of work into this. And I chose to include the information I did because it fit, But yeah, I think this is what I did too, and what I've come to realize is that this is just the starting place. I'm not done. There's no way I could have been done after these 5 episodes. And to start with my original research, to start where I'm starting from, is my comes from me. It comes from my experiences. It's kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode of why did I choose the people I chose to interview? One, because of time. I would also say, two, I chose these episodes because of time. It just works better for, I don't have all these time in the world to be doing this, but, I don't know. It also is just, what I've realized is it's, the core of this. It's a core of what I would be doing. Why in the first place am I sitting here talking about the bathroom and gender and all this stuff? So that's why season 1 went the way it did. It's why it was episodic to serialize, episode to episode, builds on each other, listen in order, But yeah, that felt necessary to me. It's not going to be forever too, Season 2 will be kind of you can jump around. You can listen to one episode here, and you can listen to the next episode released a few weeks later. It's not 1, 2, 3. So that's changing. Yeah, and then I think too about podcasting life and how it's gone, the whole process for this is I worked on this fall 2022, did not work on it all spring 2023, then started again this most recent summer. I had I was working on this for credit. I was thinking I was going to get more out and released and stuff earlier, but then I realized how much editing I had to do. And then I also realized how much it fucking takes to distribute and record and edit a podcast. Oh my God. All those things. First off, distribution. I had struggles at first. There's weird things. I couldn't get it all done in the way I wanted it to. A lot of looking stuff up, a lot of figuring things out on my own. Then recording. I will say that every episode, including this one, except for the last episode 5, I've recorded more than once. I've done multiple takes of, and literally multiple takes in the sense of I've sat down all the way through, recorded, and then been no, I actually want to change something, or no, I actually want to do something different. This is kind of the trap of a scripted podcast, is that there's not you have more stuff that you need to say, or you have an edit that you need to make because you have a script to draw from, which is why I'm excited to not be scripting all of this shit in the future. I love to just have conversations and see where they go, So it's been a lot. And then editing has been a lot. The only editing help I've had was the first episode was edited by Emma, because she's film and media scholar, film and media queen. But yeah, everything else I've been editing this. I haven't learned how to edit things, nobody's taught me that. So it's been a lot of me figuring things out, mixing the things at the end. That's complicated, and I still don't feel I have fully found something that I really feel I like, the audio sounds good, but I'm it could be better, and then why the fuck did I do podcasts? The things are first off, it's so much work, and for not a lot of reason at this point. I had the academic credit, but I'm graduated, Second, the podcasting market is so overcrowded, oversaturated. There's so many podcasts, and there's so many people making podcasts, and I'm not expecting though anything it doesn't all these things telling me that maybe I shouldn't be doing it, or it's hard, or you won't like do this or that. It's like all of this still feels very enjoyable and very necessary to me. Even when shit comes up, I can work through it. It makes me learn how to work through obstacles and shit, you know? So I would still do this. I would still make this podcast, even if it was just like me who listened to it, you know? I would still do it. That being said, will I probably need to, you know, take some time here or there? Hell yeah, I probably will. But I'm not going to, like, this is an important project to me, and I want to keep doing it. So, yeah, that's why I did it. And then, finally, I kind of want to reflect on the future a little bit. So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, we have bonus content coming soon. My original interviews with Emma, Lila, and Zoe, 2 of them will be video. I'm very excited for that. This is also another part of the podcast thing. I haven't edited video before. Who knows how this will go? I already had fucking my storage. I just ordered the hard drive and it hasn't come here yet. But my storage on my fucking laptop, you would think my laptop's from like 2012 about how slow it runs and how quickly it runs out of storage. Y'all know that messages will take up 30 plus gigabytes of storage in your like MacBook because fucking attachments, you know? And I've deleted now 3 times the attachments. Every time I delete the attachments off my computer, it comes back more. Like there's at least 10 gigabytes more every time I delete it. So they're really trying to fuck with me. I just had to disable messages like while I was recording this because I had a little editing blunder. It was like recording blunder, I should say. Like it was really fucking annoying. But I didn't lose it. I'm here. I went on a tangent. Anyways, video episodes coming, bonus content coming soon, and then season 2, Potty Talk, will be coming out soon too. I'm so excited. All this initial stuff has been kind of the scope of what I've been thinking about for this podcast for the longest time until the past few months. Until I realized like, oh, my favorite podcasts are when people are sitting down having a conversation. I should just do that too. And so I will. It'll be more flexible. Listen to the episodes as you wish. And I might have some video episodes where I can. Again, editing's a fucking thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited. I'm very grateful, like fucking grateful for all of this. Like, I don't know. It's been such a like amazing journey to get feedback. Like to like build kind of this like repertoire of my own work and stuff, and to have like I'm building my backlog right now, you know, like I'm about to record a bunch of new episodes that I can have to edit. I'll be traveling the next few months, so I'll be releasing stuff as I travel. Also, bear with me for any things that might come up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited, very grateful, and let's see what the future has in store, you know? So, that being said, it's time to wrap up. I will say that I don't have a book of the week this week, but I do have a text of the week this week, and I don't have the physical thing with me. I don't know where it is. I lost it. But I will say my text of the week this week is Ephemera as Evidence, Introductory Notes to Queer Acts by Jose Esteban Munoz. Phenomenal piece. Took me at first multiple class sessions and multiple hours to sit through and understand it and read it. But once I did, I literally would sit line by line going through what does this word mean? What is he trying to say? And when I did that, I got it. I think maybe that's why the piece stuck with me so much too. It's because like I put so much work into understanding it for good reason. So 1996 article by Jose Esteban Munoz in the Woman in Performance like feminist journal introduces the other scholarly works that are in there, talks a whole bunch about, you know, regimes of rigor that go into like verifying what's evidence and what's not, how like the academic spaces like gatekeep information or push out information that can't be quote unquote verified. You have the discussion around queer acts that I was just talking about earlier. There's notes about ephemera, like ephemeral evidence and what that can prove. Yeah, and it's just a beautifully like thought through piece. And Jose Esteban Munoz was like a fabulous, like critical scholar, and I love him so much. And rest in peace. Like he's amazing. So, very grateful that this piece exists, very grateful for his life and his work, and very sad that he's not with us still. But yeah, my text of the week this week, Ephemera's Evidence, Introductory Notes to Queer Acts by Jose Munoz. Questions, comments, rumors, and more can be sent to doyouwannacomewith@gmail.com. You can follow me at david.mckeever on Instagram, and you can follow the Do You Want to Come With podcast TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as well at Do You Want to Pod. Welcome to YouTube. Hi, YouTube. And yeah, if you have anything, like a reminder, I'm not looking for critiques on my work. Some bitches forget that. Not anybody who's actually listened to the podcast. I'll say this is another little gossipy piece. That man who I was talking about, who I used to, one of the first things he did when I told him about my podcast was started to critique it. And who the fuck do you think you are? Maybe that's why I was also turned off by him. Anyways, be on the lookout for bibliography from this whole project at some point. It might take the form of an episode. I might just post it somewhere. So, all about vibes. It's me vibing over here. I don't know. Did something weird with my hands. I don't like that. I don't like what I just did. I'm so sorry. It doesn't make me feel good. Anyways. Oh my God. Until we reach the end together again, I am your gracious and effervescent and live, sexy in video host, David McKeever. This has been season 1 of Do You Want to Come With? Thanks for listening. Bye.